lab number 266. Now it's time to add JSONStore to our mobile application, and we will be doing it based on Use tab. So you remember that initially we had the News tab loading our news service, and basically what was happening that each time we get the news, we just immediately display them in that page. So we will change that logic, and when the people will go to the page, we will grab the data from JSONStore, which is the local storage, and data will get there from the time when app will initially start. So at that moment we will call that service, place the data in JSONStore, and forget about it until the moment when people will open this news page. So there are a few steps that we need to do, and all of them are basically on the client side. So let's open our client-side code, and we will start also with generating our adapter. So let's navigate to our terminal and type Ionic G provider, and instead of push, let's call it storage provider. Like that. We need to import it in app.ts, as we previously did with push, this time with storage. Just like that, and to add one more provider here. And also here. Like that. So what we will be doing is we will actually doing several steps. First will be init, second one will be put, and third one will be get or find everything that is in JSONStore and display. And we will start with init, because init should happen before we will actually able to put anything in our JSONStore. But it's crucial to understand that JSONStore collection inits may take quite a lot of time, and it's also important to understand that init can be called only after API will be loaded, and that load is separate from the load that we done here with MFP init complete. So basically the same way as it was with the plugin, with the core plugin for MobileFirst Platform, the JSONStore plugin down there in Bootstrap.js also doing the dispatch of the specific event. This time it's called MFP JSON.js loaded. And what we will do is we will listen for that event the same way as we listened it here, but just the name will be different. This one. And here we'll type MFP JSON store API init complete, and instead of calling this init complete, we will call this storage init, like that. So this is the first step for app.ts. We can save that one. Next thing will be to work with the storage provider. And within the storage provider, we need to specify the init function. This will be the first one. We don't need all of that. We don't need dependency to HTTP and map. We can simply remove that. Our init function for now does nothing, and let's start developing with simple logging, something like JSONStore init function called like that. And now here we can actually use JSONStore API to init our first collection, and before we will just need to specify like what it will be the collection. So let's use let collections as the name of the variable, and let's call that messages or just news, for example. Doesn't really matter. So we also need to specify search fields because we will be using change and search criteria to replace the existing messages with the new ones. So search fields, and we will have several. First one will be text, and it will be string, and the second one will be date, and this one also will be string. So those search fields are based on the API that we are going to call, I mean the messages that we will get here from a news. Let me just enter the credentials to showcase how it looks. So down there in response JSON, normally we will receive something like that. So 3 objects with the specific text and a date. So this is exactly what we will be using as a search field also. So after these collections inits, we can actually use the API WL JSONStore, then init, and then we need to pass collections that we are going to init. We will have just one, which we just called news, and afterwards we will have the callback. So first one will be success callback. So what will happen in case of success, and second one will be failure callback, meaning what will happen in case of failure. So in case of success, let's do a simple login saying that JSONStore init success, and in case of failure we will just specify that init failed. And failure here. Next function that we will create will be put. So we will pass data inside, and everything that will be passed inside that put we will place basically in JSONStore. So we will start with the simple login, just the same way as we did in init. Something like a JSONStore put function called. Afterwards, we will need to define 2 things. So the first one will be collection name, and the same name. It should be the same name. In our case, it's news, and then options. So let's keep it empty for now, and then we can use the API. So WL JSONStore. Firstly, we need to get and pass here the collection name. And after we got it, we can use, for example, add API and just pass the data and options. So the data will come here as the input parameter for put function, and options we just defined. And of course, then callbacks the same way as we did it before, success and failure one. Like that. But the trick is that if there, for example, will be the same messages, and in our case, because we are using the mock service, it always will be the same messages. In case of add, we will be continue adding new messages to JSONStore. So first time there will be 3, second time there will be 6, then 9, and so on. That's not what we are going to do. So instead of adds, we will use change API. And for a change API, we need to provide an options. So first one will be replace criteria. So that's why we were needed to use those search fields, because here our text and our dates will be as search criteria. So based on those, we will find equal documents, and in case it's the same, we won't replace it. In case it's new or those fields are different, we will replace the document. The next one is add new. So in case that document is not found, whether we should add new one to collection or not, and we are interested in that, so we are specifying true. And last thing is marked dirty. So dirty thing is used when we, for example, are offline and creating something offline, and afterwards we got online and we want to sync our offline documents with the service or with adapter procedure or with database, so we can get those dirty documents and sync them. In our case, we don't want to use that functionality, so mark dirty in our case will be false. So that's it for put. We can save this one and implement last function. So last one in our case will be get all. Let's call it this way. And it will be called to just get everything we have in our collection, and afterwards to display it in our news, but of course display will be not a part of this provider. So we'll start with the same things. So we need to provide the options. This time we can use the empty options, and collection name should be of course also there. Now we can use API, so JSONStore get first with the collection name, and afterwards we can use find all API to find everything that we are that are there in JSONStore. So as always, then we have a callback. So either success, either failure, just as we were doing before. And this time it will be JSONStore get docs success and get docs failed. So in case of success, let's put here success, so we will see some logging, and because it may take time, we will implement a promise here. So something like return new promise and resolve. This will be the place to write a code for our promise. Like that. So in case of success, we will resolve our success. Which will be the documents that we got. And in case of failure, let's just resolve some kind of error text. Just error will be enough, I would say. And finally, let's also add some logging at the beginning to understand that this one was called. Like that. So now we can save this storage provider, and the next step will be to actually put the data to the storage provider. So as you remember, we get in the data inside the news provider. So right in the news provider, we should actually put that data after a successful call to our JSON store. So instead of resolving right here as we were doing it before, we will implement the put. So in order to use that storage, we need to do the same as we did in app.ts. So we'll need to start with the importing. And now back to news. Import here. The URL should be a bit different. So we are going one level up. And storage provider, of course, referencing constructor. So private storage and then storage provider, like that. And instead of working with the promise like we were doing it before, we don't need it anymore. We can just remove that part and downside part related to promise. And in case of success, we will do this storage put, and basically we will pass our data inside, like that. And let's also add the login, something like putting data to JSONStore. Like that. And finally, we also need to modify our app page code for news. So instead of calling here our news data load, we need to call storage load. So as you remember, we had in storage provider init, put and get all, so that is the proper name of our function. So down there should be storage get all, and the same reference we should do for storage as we did previously for news provider. So storage provider, storage again, one more provider here, storage provider, and here we can actually, to simplify, we can replace news provider because we don't need anymore to call that service. So we can put here our storage provider, and we can simply remove the news because we will always work with storage only on this page. And here we will keep news data as it was before, like that. So live reload is working. We'll launch in a second. JSONStore init success, cool. But nobody calling, of course, our news provider for now. We need to change that. So in our app.ts here, when we're doing the storage init, we also need to perform this push not a push, of course, news load, and we need to add a reference to that one. So doing one more import. And this time it will be news. And reference here. Like that. So now saving this app.ts and waiting until our live reload will do the job. Okay, we got the login message. It means that our news got called because, as you remember, we secured it. So after logging, you should see that JSONStore put function called, JSONStore put success, and by the way, it's good if we will add some spacing to make our console looks equal in all the cases. So we got the data in JSONStore, and let's take a look on News tab. We got news loaded, but they are not displayed properly for some reason. Let's take a look. Yes, because our news are actually inside the JSON while expected to be on the top. Anyway, so let's save this storage provider file, and then inside news.html we need to change a bit the way how we are accessing that. So item JSON .date and item JSON.text. This is what we are expecting instead of just item date and item text. So let's wait until it will reload. Okay. We got our data in JSONStore. Let's take a look on news. And yes, news are now loaded, but our change API not working properly. So let's take a look on our storage provider with the put data. So there are two possible options, either something wrong with replace criteria, either something wrong with the search fields. And yes, we are specified only one field and then type 2. So this is multiple fields, so we need to provide search fields here instead of field, and save this, of course. Now, because we previously specified the search fields with different prompts, we need to destroy this one. We can do it manually. So just JSONStore.destroy right here in developer tools, and then we can refresh this application and it should work. Okay, let's provide the username and the password. We got our news, and let's refresh one more time to see if we will have any duplication. No. Basically, that's all on this tab. This lab is finished. Thank you.